Hey folks, thanks for stopping by. It is a beautiful evening here in Ohio. I was going to take a walk through the yard and the gardens, and I thought I'd bring you along. The hostas look really good. We could use some rain. I've had to water these a few times so far. Keep everything green and lush. Hostas always have a cooling and calming effect. And ferns, some asters, Virginia creeper. Got Impatiens capensis, or touch-me-not, or jewelweed. There's lots of names. More asters. Sometimes I pull them because they look a bit weedy, but as long as they're not in my way for anything, I'll leave them. This is sawtooth sunflower. Wild senna. Beautiful yellow blossoms that bumblebees love. And in the background, that white flower is foxglove beard tongue. The bumblebees love it. My very large lemon balm that I need to cut back. I try not to let it bloom, so I'll cut it back when it flowers. Pollinators like it, so I'll let them have it for a little bit, just as long as it doesn't go to seed. Wild bergamot. A little too much shade in this area. I hope to rework it. Late figwort. Should be blooming here very soon. Some phlox that I cut back. I left some of them tall. These phlox back here, and then others I cut short. I want to see how they actually perform, if it does make them bushier and bloom a little later. The spiderwort is still in bloom. We have Rudbeckia, black-eyed Susan. It's this one here. Lots of heartleaf aster. They seeded last year. They're here and there. Again, I'll just let them grow. They're native, and pollinators like them in the fall. They have a real pretty real light lavender, almost white flower. And it's a great source of nectar late in the year when not many things are blooming. So I'll let them go unless they're in my way. That's kind of my rule in general. Lots of echinacea, purple coneflower. And the ground cover is a mix of native viola and the hideous invasive hutania, or chameleon plants. That's what's here. Some of them are starting to bloom. I've tried to control this plant for years and years. Let that be a lesson. Do not plant invasive species. This is cardinal flower. A pretty red flower. There's a pink spiderwort. Got that from my neighbor years and years ago, and I thought I'd lost it, and it popped up recently. So I planted it here. Some betony about to bloom. I have a lot of native plants in this garden, but not all. There's a lavender spiderwort and one daisy. I always like to keep one daisy. They're not native, but as long as I cut the flower heads off before they go to seed, I can keep control of it, and they don't go anywhere. Royal catchfly is about to bloom. Another pretty red flower. And salvia, May night. You always have to have at least one of these in the garden. And so it's almost done blooming the first round, and then I will cut it way back, at least 2/3, and then it will flush back. Sometimes I can even do it a third time, but. What's wrong, Lola Jean? Hello, baby girl. What are you doing? Garden is looking very good despite this drought that we're in. I've had to water most things in the ground every other day, containers every day, of course. One in there, buddy. I haven't picked strawberries yet today. I see some down there I need to get. The peppers are putting on some blooms. Fruit's developing there. Got calendula and chamomile in these two front beds. Started from seeds, so they're still a little small. The tomato plant's pruned up. Removed all of the lower leaves and then started tying them to the A-frame. Just weave them in there a little bit. That seemed to work well last year. These are the indeterminate variety that will continue to vine until frost. These over here are the determinate tomatoes, so I just put them in regular tomato cages. Still trimmed most of the lower leaves. Looks like I missed a few. I need to get some of those. But they're looking very good. Just a few indeterminates in the back row that I had extras of. Strawberries over here are humongous. The plants are just amazing. This is the first year they've crept over this far. I guess they're reaching toward the sun, I'm sure. Onions doing well. Growing like weeds. There's a garlic. I'm harvesting broccoli very soon. Looks like I have a few asparagus that are ready. Feverfew I need to plan out. Pinky man. Tomatoes in buckets, definitely a success. These were planted in leaf mold and compost. Stuff that was free from materials we collected last fall. And in the compost. Peppers in pots. Hopefully if we get the greenhouse in this year, I can actually overwinter them in these pots and see if they make it back. They're perennial in some zones. I'm not sure how cold the greenhouse will get. Cabbages got a little buggy, but they're doing okay. I've not sprayed any BT, although I have seen the cabbage white butterfly out and about. There's nothing yet, but I'm sure they're to come. Lettuces are hanging in there, haven't bolted yet. The shade cloth is working. Same with these kale, little buggy, but overall doing just fine. We're making a big harvest on these soon. I'm gonna dehydrate some into powder. And then the compost, which my chicken has sort of turned for me. Growing some tomatoes on for a friend. Potted them up, so it'll be okay until I get a chance to get over there. My winter sown seedlings looking very nice. They all need more sun, but I'm not ready for them to grow real fast just yet, so they're just growing nice and slow there. Now the potatoes are very similar to the tomatoes. I planted these in a mix of compost and a bunch of old potting mix from containers, you know, little cell packs that didn't germinate, and just a bunch of leaves lying around in the garden. So they look good. Crazy. I put 5 potatoes in this pot and it looks like there's a bunch. Yeah. These are the haricot vert French beans. They got eaten up by slugs when they were a little younger. but they've bounced back, doing pretty good. This is quinoa. Never grown quinoa before, so just a little test plot. I did have a set of corn there, but I had one germinate out of 16 seeds that I sowed. And these didn't have very good germination either, so I just have a few. They're struggling. They're hanging in there, but it's all right. We've got lots of local farmers growing corn around here. This is my white currant tomato, little teeny tiny white cherry tomato that I'll use for pickling, for fermenting. Yeah, everything's looking nice. Blueberries are not like in the dry heat. I've had to water them. Most of them are just barely surviving, so I'm planning to get a few more this year. This powder blue and Northland varieties did the best, so I probably will buy more of those. So I added soil acidifier and some Hollytone fertilizer the other day and watered them in really well. And we're supposed to get some rain this next week, so I'm hoping that will snap them out of the funk, encourage some growth. New fruit trees, serviceberry, persimmon, black cherry, and choke cherry. Raccoon dug them up, a couple of them up one day, so they're still hanging in there. Raspberry patch. It was suffering as well. It got slammed by the fallen trees a couple of months ago, and then the drought, so they've been struggling really bad. But I watered them the other day, and they're sending up lots of new shoots, and the lack of trees has increased their amount of sunlight. So we may not get a lot of fruit this year, but it looks like next year we're in for a bumper crop. I'm okay with that. But there's quite a bit here. Okay, enough for some jam. Thornless blackberries, and in the background there I have a patch of wild blackberries. Here I have my native plum. This is Prunus americana. This is another one too. It's best to have two to pollinate, for pollination. My little fruit salad tree. It's mixed peaches, plums, nectarines. Didn't flower this year. Several trees did not flower this year. Kind of weird. More serviceberries. I love serviceberries. Got a few developing there.